Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The hum of conversation and laughter fills our home as family and friends gather for my wife, Emily's birthday celebration. The aroma of roasted meats and freshly baked pastries wafts through the air, mingling with the scent of flowers artfully arranged around the house. I move from group to group, ensuring everyone has what they need. A glass filled here, a plate replenished there. It's supposed to be a joyous occasion, yet a gnawing sense of unease has settled in my gut. Emily has been acting strangely all evening, slipping away from the party at odd intervals. She's always quick with an excuse, but there's something in her eyes that gives me pause. A flicker of guilt, perhaps? Or maybe it's just my imagination running wild. Still, curiosity, or maybe it's suspicion, gets the better of me. "Hey John, have you seen Emily?" I ask my friend Mark as he nurses his drink near the living room window. He shrugs, his eyes scanning the room. "Not in the last few minutes. Maybe she's getting more wine." I nod, forcing a smile. "Yeah, probably." But I don't believe it. She's been gone too long this time. Making my way through the throng of guests, I slip down the hallway towards our bedroom. The door is ajar, and I can hear hushed voices from within. I inch closer, my heart pounding in my chest. Peeking through the gap, I see Emily on her knees, her hands bound with a scarf, her body naked and trembling. Standing before her, equally unclothed, is my friend David, a smug grin plastered across his face. My blood runs cold, anger surging through me like a tidal wave. Every instinct screams at me to burst in, to confront them, but I hold back, my mind racing with the need for something more calculated. I retreat, careful not to make a sound, and return to the party, my thoughts a whirlwind of rage and betrayal. Emily's laughter rings out from the bedroom as I rejoin the guests, her absence unnoticed by most. I plaster a smile on my face, chatting and laughing, but my mind is elsewhere, already plotting my revenge. An hour later, Emily returns to the party, her face flushed, her hair slightly disheveled. She slips her arm around my waist, her smile bright and innocent. I force myself to reciprocate, my smile strained. She leans in to kiss my cheek, and I catch a whiff of her perfume mixed with David's cologne. "Where have you been?" I ask, keeping my tone light. "Just freshening up," she replies, her eyes twinkling. "Needed a break from the chaos." I nod, pretending to buy her lie, and turn my attention back to our guests. The night wears on, the celebration winding down, and soon we're bidding farewell to the last of our friends and family. Emily heads to the kitchen to start cleaning up, and I follow, my mind still churning with the need for retribution. "I'll help you with that," I say, taking a plate from her hands. She looks up at me, a hint of surprise in her eyes. "Thanks, honey." We work in silence, the only sounds the clinking of dishes and the running water. As I scrub the plates, my anger simmers just below the surface. Every brush of her hand against mine, every casual touch, feels like a betrayal. I'm not sure how much longer I can keep up the facade. Finally, the kitchen is clean, and we head upstairs to bed. Emily slips into her nightgown and climbs into bed, her back to me. I lie beside her, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. Sleep eludes me as I plot my next move, determined to make her pay for her betrayal. The next morning, I rise early, leaving Emily asleep in our bed. I head to my home office, closing the door behind me. I sit at my desk, my laptop open, and begin to formulate my plan. Revenge, they say, is a dish best served cold, and I intend to make it a feast. I start by gathering evidence, downloading software to monitor Emily's phone and computer. I need proof, irrefutable evidence of her infidelity. As I set up the programs, my mind races with possibilities. How will I confront her? How will I make her suffer the way she's made me suffer? Days turn into weeks, and I collect more and more evidence of Emily's affair. Text messages, emails, photos, all proof of her betrayal. Each new piece of evidence fuels my anger, my desire for revenge growing stronger. One evening, as we sit down to dinner, I decide it's time to set my plan into motion. I've had enough of the charade, and it's time for Emily to face the consequences of her actions. "Emily," I say, my voice steady, "we need to talk." She looks up at me, a forkful of pasta halfway to her mouth. "What's wrong?" I take a deep breath, steeling myself. I know about you and David. Her fork clatters to her plate, her eyes widening in shock. What are you talking about? Don't lie to me, I say, my voice rising. I've seen the texts, the emails. I know what you've been doing. Emily's face pales, her hands trembling. John, I can explain. No, I say, cutting her off. You don't get to explain. You've betrayed me, and now you're going to pay. Her eyes fill with tears, and she reaches for my hand. Please, John, don't do this. I pull my hand away, standing up. You made your choice, Emily. Now you have to live with the consequences. As I walk out of the dining room, leaving her sobbing at the table, I feel a grim satisfaction. This is just the beginning. Emily has no idea what's coming, but she'll soon find out. Revenge, after all, is a dish best served cold. Emily's sobs echo down the hallway as I leave her alone in the dining room. I pause for a moment, leaning against the wall, letting the weight of the confrontation sink in. My hands tremble with a mix of anger and adrenaline. The house feels eerily quiet, the earlier celebration now a distant memory. I take a deep breath and head to my office, my mind set on the next phase of my plan. The following morning, I act as if nothing has happened. Emily's eyes are red and puffy from crying, and she moves around the house like a ghost, avoiding my gaze. I pour myself a cup of coffee and sit at the kitchen table, pretending to read the newspaper. Emily stands by the counter, nervously twisting her wedding ring. John, we need to talk, she finally says, her voice barely above a whisper. I look up, feigning indifference. About what? About us. About what you said last night. Her voice cracks, and she swallows hard. Please, just listen to me. I put the newspaper down and stare at her, my expression cold. I'm listening. Emily takes a deep breath, tears welling up in her eyes. I made a mistake, John, a terrible mistake. But it doesn't change how I feel about you. I love you. I laugh bitterly, shaking my head. Love. Is that what you call sneaking around with my friend behind my back? Please, John, just give me a chance to explain. To make things right. Her voice is desperate, pleading. I stand up, towering over her. You've had your chance, Emily. Now it's my turn. I leave her standing in the kitchen, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs, and head to the garage. I grab my car keys and drive to my friend Mark's house. I need someone I can trust, someone who can help me with the next steps of my plan. Mark answers the door, looking surprised to see me. John, what brings you here so early? I need to talk to you, I say, pushing past him into the house. It's about Emily. Mark's expression darkens, and he closes the door behind me. What happened? I sit down on his couch, running a hand through my hair. I found out she's been cheating on me, with David. Mark's eyes widen in shock. David? Are you serious? Dead serious, I reply, my voice hard. And I need your help to get back at them. Mark sits down next to me, his expression thoughtful. What do you have in mind? I lean forward, lowering my voice. I have evidence of their affair. I want to confront David, but I need you to be there, as a witness. Mark nods slowly. Okay, I'm in. When do you want to do this? Tonight, I say, standing up. I'll call David and invite him over. We'll confront him when he gets there. That evening, I make the call. David sounds cheerful, completely unaware of what's coming. Sure, John, I'd love to come over. What's the occasion? No occasion, I reply, keeping my tone casual. Just thought we could catch up. When David arrives, Mark and I are waiting for him in the living room. Emily is upstairs, locked in our bedroom. David walks in, a smile on his face, but it quickly fades when he sees the serious expressions on our faces. What's going on, he asks, looking between Mark and me. I stand up, my hands clenched into fists. We need to talk, David. About you and Emily. David's face pales and he takes a step back. John, I can explain. Don't bother, I cut him off, my voice cold. I've seen the messages, the photos, I know everything. David's eyes dart to Mark, who stands with his arms crossed, his expression stern. John, Save it, I snap, advancing towards him. You've betrayed me, and now you're going to pay. David raises his hands, trying to placate me. Please, John, let's talk about this. I grab him by the collar, my anger boiling over. There's nothing to talk about. Get out of my house, and if I ever see you near Emily again, I swear you'll regret it. David stumbles back, his face contorted with fear and guilt. He turns and practically runs out the door, leaving me and Mark standing in the living room. Mark places a hand on my shoulder. What now? I take a deep breath, my anger slowly subsiding. Now we focus on Emily. This isn't over yet. Over the next few days, I continue to gather evidence and plan my next move. Emily tries to talk to me, to explain, but I ignore her. I can't let her off the hook so easily. She needs to understand the gravity of her betrayal. One evening, as I sit in my office, I receive a text message from an unknown number. It's a photo of Emily and David, taken at a hotel. My blood runs cold, and I realize this goes deeper than I thought. Someone else knows about their affair. I decide to confront Emily with the new evidence. I find her in the living room, staring blankly at the television. I toss my phone onto her lap, the photo displayed on the screen. Care to explain this, I ask, my voice icy. Emily's face turns white as she looks at the photo. John, I don't know who took that. That's not the point, I say, my anger flaring. The point is, you lied to me. Again. Tears stream down her face as she looks up at me. Please, John, give me a chance to make things right. I shake my head, my heart hardened. You had your chance, Emily. Now you have to live with the consequences. The next morning, I contact a lawyer. I need to know my options, to protect myself and ensure Emily pays for her betrayal. The lawyer, a stern woman named Linda, listens to my story and nods thoughtfully. You have a strong case, she says. We can file for divorce on grounds of adultery. You'll need to gather all the evidence you have. I nod, feeling a sense of grim satisfaction. I have plenty of evidence. As I leave the lawyer's office, I feel a renewed sense of purpose. Emily has no idea what's coming, but she'll soon find out. This is just the beginning. Revenge, after all, is a dish best served cold. The tension in the house is unbearable. Emily moves about like a shadow, her once bright eyes now dull with guilt and sorrow. I go through the motions, barely acknowledging her presence, but inside, I'm a storm of emotions. Anger, betrayal, and a cold determination to see this through to the end. Linda, my lawyer, has been a pillar of strength. She's methodical, relentless, and as determined as I am to make sure Emily pays for her betrayal. We meet regularly, going over every detail, every piece of evidence. Each meeting steels my resolve. One evening, as I sit in my office sifting through documents, my phone buzzes. It's Mark. John, we need to talk. Can you meet me at the pub, he asks, his voice sounding urgent. Sure, I reply, curiosity pique. Give me 20 minutes. I grab my keys and head out, leaving Emily sitting silently in the living room. The drive to the pub is short, but it feels like an eternity. When I arrive, I find Mark at a corner table, a pint of beer in front of him. What's up, I ask, sliding into the seat across from him. Mark leans in, his expression serious. I did some digging. There's more to this than just Emily and David. My heart skips a beat. What do you mean? Mark pulls out his phone and shows me a series of messages. I got these from a friend who works at the hotel where that photo was taken. Apparently, David's been bragging about his affair with Emily to a bunch of people. I grit my teeth, anger flaring. Bastard. It gets worse, Mark continues. There's talk that Emily might not be the only one. David's been seen with other women too. The revelation hits me like a punch to the gut. So, he's not just a backstabbing friend, he's a serial cheater. Mark nods. Looks like it. I thought you should know. I sit back, processing the information. This changes everything. Not only has Emily betrayed me, but she's done it with someone who treats infidelity like a sport. My resolve hardens even further. Thanks, Mark, I say, my voice grim. This helps. Mark reaches across the table, his grip firm on my arm. "Hang in there, John. We're going to get through this." I leave the pub, my mind racing with new possibilities. If David is a serial cheater, there might be more women willing to come forward, more evidence to strengthen my case. The drive home is a blur, my thoughts consumed by the next steps. When I arrive, Emily is waiting for me, her eyes red from crying. "John, we need to talk." I brush past her, heading to the kitchen. "There's nothing left to say, Emily." "Please," she begs, following me. "Just listen." I turn to face her, my anger barely contained. "What do you want to say, Emily? That you're sorry? That it was a mistake?" Tears streamed down her face. "Yes, I'm sorry. But it was more than a mistake. I was lonely, John. You were always so busy, so distant." I laugh bitterly. "So it's my fault now? Because I worked hard to provide for us." "No," she whispers, her voice breaking. I needed someone, and David was there." Her words cut deep, but I refuse to let her see how much they hurt. "Well, congratulations. You got what you needed, and now you'll face the consequences." I turn away, leaving her standing in the kitchen, her sobs echoing through the house. I head to my office and call Linda, filling her in on the latest developments. "This could be useful," Linda says, her voice thoughtful. "If we can prove David's history of infidelity, it will bolster your case." "Do whatever it takes," I reply, my voice hard. "I want this done." The next few days are a whirlwind of meetings, phone calls, and preparations. Linda tracks down other women who were involved with David, and their testimonies paint a damning picture. Each new piece of evidence feels like a step closer to justice. One evening, as I sit in my office, my phone buzzes again. It's a message from an unknown number. Curious, I open it and find a video. My blood runs cold as I watch Emily and David in a hotel room, their actions leaving no room for doubt. This is the final nail in the coffin. I forward the video to Linda, my hands shaking with a mix of anger and adrenaline. She responds almost immediately. "This is it, John. This will seal the deal. We're ready to move forward." The next morning, I serve Emily with divorce papers. Her face crumples as she reads them, the reality of her actions finally sinking in. "John, please," she sobs, reaching for me. "Don't do this." I pull away, my voice cold and final. "You made your choice, Emily. Now live with it." The days that follow are a blur of legal proceedings and court dates. Linda is relentless, presenting our case with precision and determination. The evidence is overwhelming, and Emily's pleas for forgiveness fall on deaf ears. One afternoon, as we sit in the courtroom, the judge delivers his verdict. The divorce is granted, with the majority of our assets awarded to me. Emily is left with nothing but the guilt of her betrayal. As we leave the courthouse, Linda turns to me, a small smile on her face. "We did it, John." I nod, a sense of grim satisfaction settling over me. Yes, we did. But as I drive home, the victory feels hollow. The house is quiet, empty. The celebrations, the laughter, the love we once shared all gone, replaced by silence and memories of betrayal. The days turn into weeks, and I try to move on, but the scars run deep. One evening, Mark comes over with a bottle of whiskey, and we sit on the porch, drinking in silence. "You did the right thing," Mark says, breaking the quiet. "You deserve better." I nod, but the ache in my chest remains. "I know, but it still hurts." Mark claps a hand on my shoulder. "It will get better, John. Trust me." As the night wears on, I feel a glimmer of hope. Maybe Mark is right. Maybe in time, the pain will fade and I'll find a way to heal. But for now, all I can do is take it one day at a time, determined to rebuild my life from the ashes of betrayal. Months pass, and the house feels emptier than ever. Emily has moved out, and the silence is deafening. I've thrown myself into work, trying to forget the pain, but the memories linger, haunting me at every turn. Mark visits often, his presence a comforting reminder that not everyone has betrayed me. One evening, as I'm sorting through old photographs, my phone buzzes with a message from an unknown number. My heart skips a beat as I open it, revealing a single line of text: "Meet me at the old warehouse on 5th, tonight. alone. My mind races. Who could this be? Why the secrecy? A mixture of curiosity and apprehension drives me to grab my coat and keys. I text Mark, letting him know where I'm going, just in case. The old warehouse is a relic from a bygone era, its walls crumbling and windows shattered. I step inside, the air thick with dust and decay. Shadows dance across the floor as I navigate the maze of abandoned machinery and broken crates. "Hello," I call out, my voice echoing through the empty space. A figure steps out from the shadows, and my heart stops. It's David. He looks disheveled, his clothes rumpled and his face gaunt. "David," I say, my voice tinged with anger. "What the hell are you doing here?" He raises his hands in a gesture of peace. "John, I need to talk to you. It's important." I take a step back, my fists clenching. "After everything you've done, you think I'll listen to you?" "Please," he pleads, his voice desperate. "It's about Emily." My anger flares. "What more could you possibly say about her?" David takes a deep breath, his eyes filled with regret. "She's in trouble, John. Serious trouble." I scoff, crossing my arms. "And why should I care?" "Because," he says, his voice shaking, "it's not what you think. Emily didn't betray you out of malice. She was coerced." My mind reels. "What are you talking about?" David glances around nervously, then leans in closer. "There's a man, someone powerful, who has been blackmailing her. He threatened to ruin your life if she didn't comply." My heart races as I process his words. "Why should I believe you?" "Because," David says, pulling out his phone and showing me a series of messages, "I was also a pawn in his game. He used me to get to her. To get to you." I scroll through the messages, my blood running cold as I read the threats and demands. It's all there, in black and white. My anger shifts from David to this unknown puppet master pulling the strings. "Who is he?" I demand, my voice low and dangerous. David looks around again, fear evident in his eyes. "His name is Victor Hawk. He's a powerful businessman with connections everywhere. He wanted to destroy you because you refused to sell him your company." My mind flashes back to the meeting with Victor Hawk months ago. I had refused his offer, not wanting to sell out to a man with a reputation for ruthlessness. I had no idea he would go to such lengths for revenge. "Where is he?" I ask, my voice trembling with rage. David shakes his head. "I don't know. He's always in the shadows, pulling the strings." I step back, my mind racing. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I couldn't live with the guilt anymore," David says, his voice breaking. "And because Emily, she's in danger. Victor knows she's been trying to contact you. He's going to silence her." I feel a surge of panic. "Where is she?" David hands me a piece of paper with an address scribbled on it. "This is where she's hiding. You need to get to her before Victor does." Without another word, I turn and sprint out of the warehouse, my heart pounding in my chest. The address leads me to a rundown motel on the outskirts of town. I burst into the room, finding Emily huddled in a corner, her eyes wide with fear. "John," she whispers, tears streaming down her face, "you have to leave. It's not safe." I rush to her side, pulling her into my arms. "I'm not leaving you. We're going to face this together." As I help her to her feet, the door crashes open, and a group of men storm in, led by none other than Victor Hawk. His cold eyes lock onto mine, a cruel smile playing on his lips. How touching, Victor sneers. The hero comes to save his damsel in distress. I step in front of Emily, my fists clenched. "This ends now, Victor." Victor laughs, a chilling sound that echoes through the room. "Oh, I don't think so. You've been a thorn in my side for too long, John. It's time to remove you." Before I can react, one of Victor's men lunges at me. I dodge his attack, delivering a swift punch to his gut. Another man grabs Emily, and I lash out, desperate to protect her. The room descends into chaos as we fight for our lives. Just when it seems we're outnumbered, the door bursts open again, and Mark charges in, a determined look on his face. He tackles one of Victor's men, giving me a momentary advantage. With renewed energy, I land a solid punch on another attacker, sending him sprawling to the ground. Mark, I shout, grateful for his timely arrival. Couldn't let you have all the fun, he replies, a fierce grin spreading across his face. Together, we fend off Victor's goons, our movements fueled by desperation and anger. Emily stays behind us, her eyes darting around, looking for an escape. Victor, meanwhile, stands by the door, watching the chaos with a look of cold amusement. Enough. Victor's voice cuts through the noise, and his men fall back, creating a tense standoff. You think you can win this, John? Victor taunts, stepping forward. I own this city. I own you. I step forward, refusing to back down. Not anymore, Victor. This ends here. Victor's eyes narrow, and he reaches into his jacket, pulling out a gun. My heart races as he aims it at me. Time seems to slow, and I brace myself for the worst. Stop! Emily's voice rings out, clear and strong. She steps forward, holding up her phone. I've been recording everything. Victor's eyes widen in surprise, and he hesitates for a moment, his grip on the gun faltering. Emily continues, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. I have enough evidence to bring you down, Victor. If you don't leave us alone, this goes straight to the police. Victor's face contorts with rage, but he lowers the gun, realizing he's been outmaneuvered. He glares at Emily, then at me, before finally speaking. You think this is over, he hisses. This is far from over. With a final sneer, he turns and storms out of the room, his men following close behind. The tension in the room lifts, and I exhale a long breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Emily collapses into my arms, her body shaking with relief and fear. We did it, she whispers, tears streaming down her face. Yeah, I say, holding her close. We did. Mark stands by the door, watching the retreating figures of Victor and his men. We should call the police, get this recorded properly. I nod, pulling out my phone to dial 911. Emily clings to me, her body trembling. It's going to be okay, I reassure her. We're going to be okay. The police arrive quickly, taking our statements and gathering the evidence Emily has recorded. Victor Hawk's influence is extensive, but with the weight of our evidence, the tide begins to turn. The authorities launch a full-scale investigation into his activities, and within weeks, Victor is arrested, his empire crumbling around him. As the dust settles, Emily and I work to rebuild our lives. The road to forgiveness is long and fraught with challenges, but the shared experience of facing Victor brings us closer together. We attend therapy both individually and as a couple, confronting the issues that led to our estrangement and eventual reconciliation. One evening, as we sit on the porch, watching the sunset, Emily takes my hand in hers. John, I know I can't erase what I did, but I want you to know how deeply sorry I am. I squeeze her hand, feeling the sincerity in her words. I know, Emily, we both made mistakes, but we're moving forward, together. She smiles, a genuine, hopeful smile that warms my heart. Together. Mark remains a steadfast friend, his loyalty and support a constant source of strength. We often gather at his place or mine, sharing stories and laughter, grateful for the bonds that have held us together through the darkest times. As the months turn into years, the scars of betrayal begin to fade, replaced by a stronger, more resilient love. Emily and I renew our vows, surrounded by friends and family, our commitment to each other reaffirmed. The journey has been long and painful, but it has also brought growth and understanding. We have faced the storm and emerged stronger, ready to face whatever comes next. And as we stand together, hand in hand, I know that we can weather any challenge so long as we face it together.